Hey guys, so for today's movie review, I'm going to talk about the film Shallow Grave. It is a Danny Boyle film. In fact, it was one of his first films, and this was actually one of Ewan McGregor's one of his first films also. So this is actually a part of the Criterion Collection. That's what this version is. This one's loaned to me. I actually don't own this version, but um, so Shallow Grave. So in this film, um, basically there's these college roommates and they're trying to figure out who because they have enough room for another person to live with in this apartment room. They're trying to figure out who would be the best choice for that fourth person for this apartment. So what they do is they kind of almost treat it like an interview process. So what they do is they kind of interview people, they see what their interests are, they see if it would actually work out. So they end up uh, accepting this guy who always like carries this briefcase around with him. And miraculously enough, the following morning, right after he moves in, um, he's dead on the bed. They open up the door, he's dead, and the briefcase is next to him. And they find out this briefcase is full of money, and it's a lot of money too. So basically, what they do is because they not only have to hide this body now, and they want to keep the money, they got to make sure that they're doing it right. So what they do is basically when they take this guy to this forest area to bury him, they try to separate the body parts so it's harder to tell who it is. So they do this. One of them feels really guilty about it because not only did he have to bury this guy, but he actually had to rip off a body part of this guy for burying somewhere else. Um, so basically, this body's buried and gone. The group is this group of kids thinks that it's gone and nobody's going to find out about it. But one of them's still not quite sure. He thinks that he has these bad nightmares all the time. He has all these worries, and it's played out on camera. How he's worried that like the police and this gang where that money's supposed to be at is going to come up and get this group of friends who live together. So basically, they try to spend all this money and, they try to have fun with it. But at the same time, a series of events happens where keeping this whole thing secret as to how they got the money and, this body being hidden away, which actually has more people looking for this guy than these kids think. All those things start to come to play, and keeping this thing secret becomes more and more challenging for this group. So Shallow Gravy, guys, I think the concept was great in this. You could definitely tell this is Danny Boyle because he likes to play around with red and yellows, and he kind of has that Bollywood film look in America. That's kind of what I call his film style. It's a Bollywood in America. Um, so for the positives and negatives, for I thought this film had a good concept. It definitely kind of had like a No Country for Old Men feeling with this briefcase full of money and all that kind of stuff. I thought the suspense building was good in this. There was definitely a lot of scenes where you're kind of on the edge of your seat, kind of trying to guess what's going to happen next. So Danny Boyle did a very good job with that. Um, the musical score in this was pretty decent. Not the greatest musical score on the face of the earth, but it was decent for what they had. Um, I thought this film had unique cinematography and unique camera angles. Like spinning shots on the head and all that kind of stuff. Throughout the film, they do this with certain characters. Um, for these characters, I think their guilt kind of impacts their actions, and the way that Danny Boyle plays it out, it's definitely you definitely can tell that they feel guilty about it, and how they react and act upon certain things is definitely impacted by this guilt that they feel inside of them from what went on with this guy that moved in. Um, for the negatives, you guys, I really think this film is not as clever as some may think it is. Like I said, this is a great concept. They built upon the suspense very well, but ultimately, it's just not as clever as some may want it to be. There's something about this film that never quite uh, it just never quite. Let's see if I can say this word. It never quite feels finished. There we go. So the film never kind of feels finished in that sense. Um, some of the characters in this felt very one dimensional. It was just like, okay, well, everybody thinks like that, and everybody doesn't think like that. And these characters really needed to feel more relatable, or that they needed to do something with these characters more because they felt very one dimensional when you're watching this movie. There was one character specifically where um, he was just kind of complaining about the whole time, like, oh, they're going to catch us, and oh, they're going to do this. And it just kind of got annoying after a while. And after all, these characters just feel really one dimensional after a while. Um, there were some over exaggerated nightmare sequences in this. Like I said, I understand that, they're trying to go for this, like they're thinking of the worst possible scenario going on. But after a while, it just kind of feels too convenient for, for what these guys are thinking of. Because it's like, these guys don't know where you live and they're not going to know that you put it there. And it just, some of the things like, okay, that just feels too convenient. So some of the nightmare sequences in this just felt really over exaggerated. Just like there's no way that someone would think that way and all that kind of stuff. Um, there was like little to no likable characters in here. In fact, I don't even know if there was a character in this film that I liked really. Um, but like I said, guys, this film I think had a good concept. It built upon the suspense really well. Some of the things as far as filmmaking goes, like cinematography and camera angles and musical score, all of that was fine. But where the film really falls flat on its face is its one-dimensional characters, its over-exaggerated nightmare sequences that are really, really over the top, and it's just like, why would they think that way, and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, just these characters and the cleverness of the film just really doesn't work that well. But overall, guys, I do give Shallow Grave a 7.5 out of 10. There is some very impressive filmmaking elements here. The concept's good. They built upon the suspense really well, like I said, but there's just so many things that it needed to do in order to be a better film. So overall, guys, it's an okay film. I can actually kind of see why Criterion put it on their collection simply because it's a well-made movie, but there's just certain aspects of the storyline that really needed some work. So Shallow Grave, it's okay. If you can get a copy of it, I don't know how hard it is with it being on Criterion Collection now, but if you can find a copy of it, maybe check it out. It's not an emergency to check it out though. I personally prefer No Country for Old Men. I think it kind of took the whole money in the briefcase concept a little bit better. I think it took it on that it adapted that to the screen better, I thought. But overall, this film was okay. If you like Danny Boyle, it might be worth checking out.